The New York Times today has a headline entitled, "Trump's Effort to Control Information Echo an Authoritarian Playbook." This article is in response to Trump firing the top labor official because of the recent jobs reports, which had downgraded how many jobs had been added in the last 2 months. All of us are impacted by misinformation, the loosening democratic guardrails in the United States, and the rise of the tech media oligarchy that has so much power over our information sources. I'm a sociology professor. I teach a class on global social problems. I really wanted to focus and talk about issues affecting our democracy. In these first few months of the Trump second-term presidency, we've seen systematic attacks on the branches of government that control our education, our knowledge production, our research, and the abilities to disseminate that type of information. We've seen Trump and the Republicans attack our democratic processes by instilling doubt and misinformation about our election processes in the same context as we have gerrymandering, such as what's happening in Texas. The education department has been dramatically cut. We've seen the takeover of medical journals, a ton of money withheld from universities across the nation that contribute to research, especially medical research. Information about vaccines, healthcare, Environmental Protection Agency cutting the research wing of its department, funding for weather reporting, including reporting on severe weather outcomes, cutbacks on consumer protection departments, and so on. When the government doesn't like the information that they receive, they shut the source of that information down. And so it's more crucial than ever that we as the people understand how to fact check the information we get, especially with the rise of AI and how those tools can further manipulate the information that we get, including visual information, photos and videos altered, and so on. The article cited the book by Michael Patrick Lynch called "On Truth in Politics: Why Democracies Demand It." It's so important for us to understand that there's websites out there that can assess news stories and tell you whether these stories are right-leaning, left-leaning, or where the political orientation is, such as Ground News. Websites such as PolitiFacts tell you about the history of different news stories and how accurate they are. And there's also such a great plethora of books that are warning us about the AI techno-bro takeover, such as Karen Howe's book, Empire of AI, where she parallels the growth of the AI industry to a colonial force. Other books, such as Sarah Wynne Williams' book on Careless People, talk about the culture of the elite within the Facebook industry and Meta in particular, and what their orientation is to human rights. And so from my perspective as a sociologist, when I'm listening to a lot of news about the AI industry, and I do really follow the AI industry news closely and listen to these leaders and how they talk about society, and I can see that they are absolutely clueless about sociology. They also suffer from this rich person's delusions about how the real world functions, especially for everyday people. And so while the media is so focused on the AI hype, there's real social outcomes coming from the expansion of the computer industry and AI that have real consequences for us. These data centers that are running this technology are extremely damaging to the earth that we all live in. They're consuming vast amounts of fossil fuels. They run on clean drinking water, and they often take their water source right out of municipalities and the water that citizens are drinking out of. So we are competing with the computers for our drinking water. Of course, these technologies rely on precious minerals that are mined in very dangerous and damaging ways around the earth. And of course, they contribute to pollution, including light pollution and noise pollution, and are damaging the communities in which they're embedded. And they're going to continually expand and look for further land to develop, just like a colonizing power. So we really need to talk about the resources that are going into this kind of technology, which one of its aims aims is to destroy jobs for people. And so we're allowing investors to invest billions and billions of dollars, including public money, into the development of this technology that is destroying our planet and destroying the social fabric of our democracy and our employment and so on. And so it's so important to have a critical voice on this industry, because there is so much money going into hyping it all up. And so there's books called The AI Con, AI Snake Oil, and tech journalists such as Ed Zitron who are really savagely critiquing this industry. It's so important for us to also understand how this technology works. Large language models are just a language pattern recognition technology. These are not thinking, intelligent forces. This is just language pattern recognition. Additionally, they are trying to develop this capability called AI agents, which can go forth and do more applied endeavors, but that hasn't really come out yet, and they're about to release a new platform which has further capabilities we will see. Instead of this ridiculous fear about AI, is it intelligent, is it sentient, and is it going to try to kill us? The real fear is the people behind this technology and their absolute disregard of human rights and human life. And so what we really need to fear are these tech oligarchs and the politicians behind them that are creating this dystopian future that we now see ourselves going forth into. And since I do teach on these topics, I've been reading a lot of books on democracy, and so I hope to create some videos in the future. I read a book called How Democracies Die, which I've already filmed and hope to make a video about that. I'm currently reading a book called Universities Under Dictatorship. This book can provide a really historical and global perspective on how universities have suffered under authoritarian dictatorships. And I'm also listening to the audiobook by Karen Howe called Empire of AI. And so she really gives some incredibly insightful information about the rise of this industry and the impact that it's having on the world. So I'd love to hear from you guys about how you guys are coping with all this onslaught of misinformation and how you go about doing your own research to verify the facts.